Well, good afternoon, folks. Thank you for joining. My name is Doug Paddock. I'm the chairman of the county legislature, and we have a number of other personnel from Yates County on the project, or on this video conference also. I'd like to thank you all for joining. And I would also ask you, if you would please, to mute yourself and hold questions until the end, because we will be going through questions that have been received to date, and we will try to respond to those and leave an opportunity for questions at the end. So again, thank you very much for joining. We have quite a number of personnel here. So, and I'm showing just after 2 o'clock. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. And we will send this presentation out to all of the email addresses that we have. Since you received our request for proposals, I will use those email addresses unless somebody advises Dan Long or me of a different address that you want it sent to. I would assume that if we use that address, you can forward within your own organization if necessary. From the what we'll do is outline or top line the requirements that are in the request for proposal, and then go through the questions that we've received and respond to the questions that we've received, and then give an opportunity for some comments or some additional questions from the participants here. I also neglected to mention that our environmental attorney, Bob Tyson, has promised to join us so that he could give us some of his insight also, especially relative to the environmental impact statement or the environmental requirements. Law enforcement. So the public safety communications users are as outlined here: Office of Sheriff, and the Sheriff's Office also dispatches for the Penn Yan Police Department, New York State Police, and NCON Police. Within the county, our Office of Emergency Management covers 10 volunteer fire departments, which have 11 firehouses within the county, and also communicates with 5 additional volunteer fire departments outside of the county. But because of the way the various contracts are set up with the towns, they also cover property within Yates County. For EMS, we have 3 volunteer ambulance services within the county, but also similar to the fire departments, we have volunteer ambulance services that cover residents in Yates County, but are based outside of Yates County. We do have 2 advanced life support services within the county, and a commercial ambulance service from Ontario County Finger Lakes Ambulance. Public Works, County Highway Department, the 9 town highway departments, 4 or 3.5 villages. We have 3.5 villages within the county, and New York State DOT. So that covers the users of the system. As I indicated in the request for proposals, we have an ad hoc public safety communications project committee members. All of those people have been able to join this presentation or this teleconference, and I thank them for that. Sheriff Spike will be joining or will be making some comments during the presentation. Our OEM director, Brian Winslow, Craig Pryor, our superintendent of public works, Noni Flynn, our county administrator, Dan Long, the county planner, and then legislators Tim Cutler, Bonnie Percy, Dick Harper, and I already introduced myself. Currently, we use both microwave and VHF and UHF. A study was conducted in 2019. We furnished a draft report with the RfP. And I can read the report highlights to you, but again, this is just an intent to top line the report. The equipment is at end of life. The county leases tower sites. They're rather expensive, so there's, as part of this project, the intent is to own 2 towers at least that where we currently have leases. That would be Dundee and Italy Hill. There are some areas where there are no or poor communications with portable radios. It's primarily for the sheriff, fire, and EMS. The highway departments use typically vehicle-mounted radios. The sheriff and the contract folks that we have maintained the system pretty well. It's considered very good maintenance, and the shelters and generators are in good repair, and the 3 towers have been recommended. Again, the report recommendations: replacing the microwave and tower, convert 2 sites from receive only to full transmitter. I believe that is Angus and Bluff Point. Relocate 3 towers, and so on. This is highlighted pretty well in the request for proposals, but it's necessary to do these activities. You can read that. Okay, Sheriff, I'd ask you to talk to this, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Doug. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. The only change in this proposed diagram is not going to a link over in Ovid, which is on the right side of your screen, and retain the same configuration that we are currently operating at, which is on this slide right now that you're looking at currently. Again, we're looking at the Dundee new tower in that Dundee approximate area, probably somewhere in the Barrington or Starkey area. We're looking to change our location of the Angus tower. It's a receive only currently, and we want to go to higher ground with that, right in that same approximate area, maybe with even the same owner of the location that we lease off of now. And the Italy tower, again, will be relocated at a targeted location not that far away as the crow flies. And we've got that pointed out. We've done some, obviously done propagation studies. The microwave paths are all intact.
Okay, thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but I think the Ovid site was eliminated because that is also a leased tower in Seneca County.
Yes, originally it was thought it was not, and ideally it makes sense, but it's a leased situation, so we're trying to get out of the leases.
Okay, thank you. General requirements. Our goal is to have the consultant or subcontractors do the activities that are necessary as outlined in the RFP. Yates County personnel will guide, and the Sheriff's Office can issue POs directly if that's the best way to go based on recommendations from the consultants. But so that we don't purchase through contractors, we can go directly if that's the best way to go. And there will be a response similar to that within question 5 later in the presentation. We would like the respondents to identify who will be working on it, what their hourly rates are, and what your estimated number of hours on. And any expenses that you may have, similar to a time and materials project. It would be great if you would be willing to give us a not to exceed amount or a fixed fee. Again, oops, Sorry about that. Initially, because of the tight schedule, we'd like to have in-person or virtual meetings, depending on your locations, at least every 2 weeks with the project team, project committee that's been designated. And those would occur or be led by whoever is chosen as a consultant. Now, there are 2 options within the RFP. We'll cover those in a minute, but anyone can respond to option 1 relative to option 1, option 2, or both. However, if one consultant gets option 1 and a different one gets option 2, then there will be some coordination required. So option 1 and option 2 are similar in their start out, in that you'd want to review the report that's been supplied, verify the conceptual design, look at the Angus and Dundee proposed tower sites, and recommend locations. We will have some idea of where Angus and Dundee would be, but there will be some studies, most likely microwave propagation, to assure that you have line of sight. And the county's environmental attorney will work with the consultant to create the necessary environmental documents for the tower sites. Items as are outlined in item D3 of the RFP. And if in the experience of the consultant, additional items should be included, or in consultation with the environmental attorney, we may wish to include something there. And we will, Yates County, once it's been identified, we will work with local municipalities to obtain local permits. We might need some assistance with creating documents if they need various types of maps. Option 2, again, review the report that's supplied. If there are different consultants chosen for option 1 and option 2, then there will have to be some coordination. But this option or this consultant will actually design the system and prepare a detailed design and a specification package, get the bids, or work with vendors on the New York State Office of General Services, and offer, if in your experience, any additional approaches that are advantageous to the county from a cost and or schedule basis. Deliverables. Obviously, in addition to the proposal, your proposal, but these would be the deliverables from the project. The draft environmental impact statement or environmental assessment, applications for federal, state, and or local permits and approvals, participation in public hearings, if those are required. We do not anticipate, there is a question to that effect, we do not anticipate that there will be a need to appear at local public hearings, but there may be something required for the environmental impact statement, et cetera. And then produce a final impact statement or environmental impact statement or environmental assessment. Option 2 is the design of the radio system, microwave, and towers. Evaluate the bids, and when actual construction or installation occurs, oversee the vendors and make sure that things are working the way they should. We'll be willing to the county will be willing to give you contact information. We'll accompany folks to tower sites. If you need meeting rooms, we can furnish those. We'll have a point person or persons for answering questions. There may be more than one because there may be more technical and I'll call commercial considerations. The sheriff has agreed to create purchase orders for equipment and so on. We will furnish permit fees, but if there are other resources that the consultant would like to see or feels are necessary, please let us know what they are, so that we will be able to get the necessary personnel in place. We do not, however, have necessary staff to assign a full-time project manager. Schedules. Dan Long needs them electronically by Friday, the 25th of June, which is, I think 3 weeks from, or 2 weeks from tomorrow, 3 weeks from tomorrow, sorry. And 5 bound copies are due by 3 p.m. the following Monday. I would say that I would suggest to any consultants, the sooner you can get it to the county, better off we would be. There have been some glitches in our email system, even as recent as today. So it would behoove you to send something earlier and then follow up to make sure that it has arrived, because some things seem to be happening, especially with Microsoft systems. And then subsequent to that, we will have set up teleconference interviews with the communications committee sometime between June 30th and July 6th. And then we will, at mutually agreeable times, and our intent is to make a recommendation to the legislature so that it can make a decision and award this to consultant or consultants at its July 12th meeting. So that as far as the system goes, relative to schedule, the Dundee Tower must be operational before June 30th of next year, and the entire system must be fully operational by October 15th of next year. And the schedule is driven, that was a question asked a number of times, and there is a response in the question section, but it is driven by expiration of tower leases, and it's pretty unlikely that it can be extended. And we would like to see, as part of the proposal, a Gantt chart or Gantt schedule in the Gantt format. So the submittal, section H, really pretty much covers what the county would be looking for. And I'll point out that we're looking also for a proposed contract or agreement. I think this is pretty straightforward, but those are the deliverables. And another question that was asked is how will things be evaluated? And that is, we will use these and the information supplied by the consultants or proposed consultants, and we will evaluate the responses and selection of the firm based on these criteria. Okay, questions and responses. You can read the first one. Why not just continue with the firm that had been initially prepared the initial report? Yates County Legislature often goes out for requests for proposals on what they consider fairly large projects. This would fall into that category. We also, on a routine basis, issue requests for proposals for other professional services, be they engineering, our labor attorney, auditors. It's a best practice. We do those sorts of things. So it's not any reflection on any other firms, but it's a way of business for the county. Will CDCG be submitting a response? They were sent the RFP, as were 13 other firms. 3 of the firms to which it was sent have responded that they will not be submitting a response, and anybody can respond to option 1, option 2, or both. Another question was, is recent work experience in New York required? New York is a little bit different than some other states. If you have had experience in New York at any time, it would be helpful to be aware of that, be made aware of that. But if you have recent experience on this type of project in another state, please advise us of that. Formal bid process. We'd be willing to work with a vendor and a consultant off from the OGS list, but we would ask you to present you as a respondent to represent the approach that you think would be most cost effective and will still achieve the required schedule. Question 5, to assist in the design and procurement of towers. I've kind of covered that before, but we will give technical guidance, answer questions, issue purchase orders, and so on. But we don't have a drafting department. We don't do those sorts of things very often, so we would look to the consultant to do that. We will not have a full-time project manager. Remote support, as long as things can be covered, will be considered. And if there are county resources that you feel will be necessary, please let us know what it is. At this point, for the next 3 questions, I'd like to turn it over to our environmental attorney, Bob Tyson, and would ask him if he would to cover the environmental impact or environmental assessment portion.
Sure, thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
So, in general, I can tell you all that I don't have at this point in time a preconceived notion of what the environmental assessment process will involve. I haven't decided the question. There's question 6. Will a formal generic EIS be required? Can we do this on a site-by-site basis? Frankly, I haven't made up my mind as to what my preference is yet, because candidly, I haven't seen all of the sites. I'm more familiar with one of them than I am the other 2. And obviously, in each instance, the facts drive the determinations in these issues. Having said that, I can tell you that in any environmental assessment process, I've litigated and defended enough of these that when I'm representing the project proponent, my primary objective is to be complete and to create a record that is not only defensible if there's a challenge, but a record that's good enough that it potentially causes a plaintiff's attorney to say to their client, I don't know, it looks like they did this pretty well, so I'm not sure that it's worth your money to try and challenge this one. So I'm probably, you can divine from that, discern from that what you want, but obviously an EIS is a more robust record and a more defensible record than would be just a series of individual things. I'm also concerned about the possibility of segmentation. All of these projects have got to be dealt with in some manner. There would be cumulative impacts associated with them. So I am totally open to your suggestions. I am fairly consultative. You've all done this before. I'm interested in what your thoughts are. And frankly, you're going to be spending a lot more time at sites than I am. So you're going to be more familiar with the impacts than I am. But ultimately, we haven't made up a determination as to whether it's going to be site by site or whether it's going to be an EIS. That's about what I think I can say at this point, Doug.
Thank you very much, Bob. Another question was what activities could impact it? I guess I should have had you address that one. So, we're moving some enclosures. We're getting some new enclosures at 3 sites. So that could affect the EIS. Do we own property for the new tower sites? I think Bob has covered that. Because there is an environmental situation or there has to be an environmental impact statement, we have not acquired any properties yet for these new towers. We will identify or have, by the time the consultant is engaged, have identified some sites in the Dundee area, and we'll need some help in choosing the best site. What's driving the schedule? I think we covered that in the presentation, but it's lease expiration on the current Dundee and Italy Hill towers. If the county is required to obtain permits, variances, and so on from local municipalities, we'll handle that, but we may need some documents from the consultant. We're not in a position to create an awful lot of drawings. If there are hearings, it would most likely be related to the environmental assessment portion. We don't anticipate that consultant would need to attend local municipalities meetings. If so, we'd ask you to bill on an hourly basis. And how quickly can we authorize purchases? The county legislature meets the second Monday of every month. If things are ready for a contract, we can approve it every 4 or 5 weeks. However, if something is necessary for construction, we can call a special meeting with 72 hours notice. Notice to proceed to the consultant. We hope that we will be able to do that by the 12th of July. However, our county attorney will need to review the proposed contract and may have some questions. I can tell you that the county attorney will require certificates for workers' comp and liability as a minimum, and some on the necessary New York State forms. And sometimes it takes a while for consultants to acquire those. That is often what holds up an actual signature on a contract. Do we need to do environmental assessments at existing sites? Doubtful. We really believe that will only be required for new tower sites. If we do need something, the next question, asbestos and lead, same situation. We don't anticipate that will be necessary, but if so, we'd ask that be billed on a time and hourly rate, depending on the personnel that are there. At this point, we have just a few more. Do we intend to comply with NEPA, scope of work sufficient? Probably should have moved this up into the section on the environmental impact statement, but I would let Bob, if you would, respond to this.
Yeah, we'll work collaboratively on this with the selected consultant. I am not an FTC attorney. I understand the process that's required for purposes of NEPA, so collectively we'll work through this, but I'm going to be relying on the consultants to prepare the documents for purposes of this, and then I'm going to be reviewing them. So.
Okay. I already addressed how the responses will be evaluated using the matrix based on the items H1 through H5 and 7 of the RfP, and there's also response 1 seeking value. While fees are important, I can say that the county has recently engaged a consultant, an engineering firm, who was not the lowest cost, but certainly seemed to have the most experience and would give the best value to the county as part of that project. And we have verified that our contract does say that we can get data produced during the previous study, so we can be furnished, so that can be furnished to the selected consultant. At this point, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Spike and would ask him to respond, if he would please, to the technical questions.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Ron.
Yes, I think I already covered the idea that the Ovid Tower was not a part of this project currently. We already have the necessary frequencies, we believe, already licensed with the FCC. We do have all those call signs put together. I think there's 36 of them totally. We believe we have our national interop channels all in place. You know, UTAC, VTAC, all that type of thing. We are currently using Zetron equipment for our dispatch consoles. And the same vendor is very much acceptable to us. It's been very good equipment. The battery backup, we believe may be at end of life on some of those based on the dates of purchase, but some sites have as many as 12 batteries at the Sherman site. Some may have less than that, but the site itself, we wanted to maintain use for at least 8 hours in the event that the generator does not come on automatically. Next slide. All the base stations should be replaced. We certainly have Quantars in all the for the base radios at all the tower sites. They originally were said to have probably a 15 to 18 year life. We're looking at 20 years currently, and so the only other model we had looked at regarding if it was a Motorola product would be comparable to at least the GTR 8000 for base stations. The tower sites seem to be okay, being under that 200-foot mark, 180 to 190 feet. Seem to fit the propagation studies to do what we want to do based on the locations. We may have to do another one of those for the Dundee Tower in the event that it's not in the approximate location we had anticipated. As far as RF coverage goals, obviously we always lean to try to have portable coverage to be 95%. We certainly can talk about that some more. In which category does the radio system repeater inflammation fall? It's all part of a simulcast system that that has worked very well for us in the past. It's a repeater type system for all the for base radios. The frequencies are all in place, combined with our microwave path, which can go both ways. It's as I understand it, it's a hot standby loop type of system that we currently operate. Next.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Oh, you've got more.
If on the new frequencies, we don't anticipate needing any new frequencies. There's again, we've got those pretty well covered, we believe. If they are needed, then we would, as far as licensing goes, any work we've done in the past, we've always had the radio vendor identify and do that licensing for us. Thereafter, the chief dispatcher at 911 maintains those licenses. The loading studies, there was some of that done by our previous communications consultant. We would definitely want that verified. I know that one example is the Sherman Tower is already quite loaded, and I don't believe that can take any more of a load. Will RF coverage goals be a contractual requirement?
That's obviously a copy error, a duplicate slide error. Those should have been eliminated because they were on the previous slide. So I apologize for not doing so. I think I looked at it enough times. You would have thought I would have caught it, but I didn't. So I apologize. T9 and T10 on this
it looks like the same.
on this slide are a repeat from the previous slide. So
yeah,
thank you, Sheriff.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
These are the Yates County call signs. There are 36 of them. That will be distributed to you as part of this package.
Yeah, they were all licensed to the County of Yates, except for the last one we did, came back at the Office of Emergency Management. Not sure why, but that's why that is what it is.
Okay. Yes, thank you. And PW stands for Public Works, or certainly some of them are microwave.
Yes.
Okay. All right, at the present time, does anyone have any additional questions? But I'd like to say, while you're developing the proposal, if you come up with additional questions, please get them to Dan Long, and he will work with others to come up with responses. And then the questions and responses will be sent to everybody that's indicated their intent to submit a proposal. So this is not your only opportunity to ask a question. However, it's may take a little while to get an answer in the future, depending on how extensive the answers are. So does anyone at this point have any questions? I'm seeing no one either raise their hand or unmute their microphone, so that either means that we were crystal clear in the presentation, or that people are not paying attention. I'm never sure of that, but thank you very much. And disclaimer, just to keep our county attorney happy. This is the same one put in the RFP. And I would thank everybody. Again, any opportunities for any questions at this point? All right, well, thank you all very much. I'd like to thank the members of the committee for attending. Thank all the folks that have logged in to join this and listen in. And thank Bob Tyson for joining also. I hope you all have a very nice day and a very nice weekend, and we look forward to hearing from you with the proposals. Thank you.